Hi, thank you for joining me today on another video. My name is Aamir and I share information about Google Sheets and spreadsheet on this channel. If you like this, please consider subscribing to this channel. It is totally free. We are still talking about chart series within Google Sheets. Last time we talked about scatter charts. Today I will talk about miscellaneous charts within Google Sheets. I will talk about several charts today and attempt to finish this chart series once and for all. So I won't go through the basics. I'll just show you where it is. So this is around C175 it starts. These are all the charts that there are. So there are candlestick, tree map, waterfall, radar, gauge, organizational chart, scoreboard, table, heat chart, and then finally the sparkle line. So these are all the different charts that I will attempt to talk about today. I won't go through this table. I'll just go right into the charts and start talking about it. So in the chart section around A444, this is where it starts. And this is the first graph candlestick. So for this kind of graph, there are two contexts that I'm aware that you can work with this, but there might be others. So one is the financial, where the stock price is you buying and selling stocks, and there's a high price and a low price. So you buy at a low price, sell it at a high price to make a profit, and you get this graph kind of shows you um, what is the highs, the lows, and if the price is going up or down. So if you want to know how to use it, this explains a little bit. So you have a low price and then you have a high price. Then if the color is dark, that means it is closing on the bottom and opening on the top. But if it's the color is the other way around, then it's opening on the bottom and is closing on the top. And so let's see that in action. So for January, for example, the low is 15, the high is 70. So it's 15 over here, high is 70 is around here, and then opening is at 20 and closing at 50. So opening is at 20 and closing at 50. Now for February, it's the opposite. So the highs and lows are here, which you can see is 25 and all the way to 66. But instead of opening at a lower price and closing at a high price, this one is opening at a higher price and closing at a lower price. So therefore it went down. So in this one you can tell dark value, so it's low prices here, high is here, low and high, and then high and low. So this one context you use it at, and you can also use that within graphs. I have not really used it, but you can get a regular line graph and use it in there. And what I have also used it in school, which Google Sheet does not provide, but some software might use this. So you have a graph where you have the minimum price and the highest price, and this first line right here is the first quarter. Then this you have the medium, then you have the third quarter, and then you have the maximum. Sometimes you have this way out here, and that shows an outliner. So that's that. Now let's go to the second graph. So second graph is called a tree map. I have used it in two contexts. I have used it in the meals, and then I have used it in schools, the majors of the schools. But you can use it in other contexts as well. I'll quickly show you how to. So the way it works is you have meals, then you have entries, desserts, appetizers, and then you have within entries you have burgers, pasta, and so on. And the way it works is the first entry, which is meals, and then within meals you have appetizer, and then within appetizer you have soup. So you're putting the prices for the soup. So whatever you put in here basically comes over here. That's where you can see this menu. And the way this works is I'll just show you. So you just addition of all those, and the appetizer is the addition of this, and this same follows below. So this is how this works. And for the universities, the same thing. You have major, and then you have bachelor's of arts, or you have a bachelor of science, and then you have each of the majors in these categories. So it's the main category, then subcategories. So this is how that works. Next one is called Waterfall. So the way it works is you have the different years and then the profits coming in. So in 2013 you made a profit of 11,000, but in 2014 you lost money, so it all went to the expense. And then here you're making money again, then you're losing it. So as you can see in here, it shows you made this much money and you lost. Uh, then you made this much money again, and then you lose. Each time you're making money or losing it is just simply indicating how much a positive or a negative revenue that you have received. And then the subtotal from where you started to where you ended is over here in the very last column. And in here is the exact same thing. So you have the income, wages, expense, and taxes. So if you have this much income, then you received a negative value in your wages, in the cost of production, and the taxes. And finally, from where you started, which was income, to where you ended up, which was the after all the expenses, it shows you the subtotal. So this is basically how much you have money left over. So this is what this is used for. Next one, we have a radar. So in the radar, you have these different expenses. So you have rent, debt, utilities, food, gas, and then there's two types of values. There's a projected expense and then there's actual expense. So basically the way it works is it starts from a zero and then it goes all the way to what is the max value. So in here is going to 800 because the rent was almost 800, almost 700. So it goes, it applies this for same across the board. So this is from 0 to 800, this is 0 to 800, and so on all the way across. And there's two types of value, projected and actual. So the projected was blue expense and the actual is red. So you have projected to spend this much on gas, and but the actual is actually a lot more. You projected to pay to spend this much on debt, but yeah, the actual is more. So you can see for no matter how much you had projected, the actual is a lot more. And then you also have, this is something that psychologists use. So there's 5 personality tests, and these are different names for it, and it tests you based on a maybe a score that you do, how open you are, how consciousness you are, and so you make a score for all that and put it on here, and then basically the data based on how this data works, you can tell that Tom is balanced because so Tom is a blue one. So Tom is balanced because he has kind of equal trait for all of them, and Katie's skewed to the left. So Katie is red, so it's skewed to the right. So she's lacking in these two personalities. And then George is more organized and sensitive because George is because this is his personality trait. So this is how you can use this graph. Next is gauge. And for gauge, basically what happens is you have a range. So for example, you have a red, and then you have orange, and then you have green. This is all the data is, but the way you have to initially work with it, you have to first put all these value in to the graph. So if I click here, go to edit, then go to customize, go to gauge, you can see these are the different values. So you have to set these values up first. So I am saying gauge from 0 to 7500, and the red value should be 0 to 2500, and then the orange value should be 25 to 50,000, and then 50,000 to 75,000. So all of these values are put in here. And now when I click on this and graph it out using those, tuning these all those in, you can see that for 2015 our sales were in the orange section, then in 2016 is in the green, and then or again orange. So you can kind of see we are not, for all the years, we're not in the red section. And this is just another example, except it's with percentages. So you can do that with percentages as well. And this is how you would set it up in the gauge setting. So the next one is the organizational chart. And this is very similar to uh, the tree map, except this is organizational. So I showed two ways how to do it. So the way it works is you have the CEO on the very top, and then you have the directors on the bottom, and then maybe the managers. So for example, in this case, you have these all individuals work under a charter, so they're indicated here. Then under Alice, you have Chris and Susie. So Chris and Susie work under Alice, and so on. So that's how this graph is created. This is the exact same chart, except I put charter on top to make it similar to the tree chart above. So it works like this as well. It's all up to you. So next one is scorecard. So the way scorecard works is you select this, and then you compare it with the previous year. So for example, this is the baseline value, and this is the key value. And the way it works is if you right click it, you edit, these are different aggregates. So you can have a sum, you can have a minimum, median, you can have a count. So this is all comparing to the previous years, so 2022 to 2023. So in this case, prices, it has increased. And so let's just do sum, for example. And I have also indicated over here. So let me just show you. If you click here, it shows you where the values are coming from. And the difference is what is showing here. So all of these values are basically what is showing here. Uh, so that is that. Next one is the table chart. So table chart is just your typical table. You have the names, salaries, and if they're full-time or not. Click on it. If you go to edit, you can set it up as a table. You can have the rows colors or not. You can have it numbered if you want it. You can sort by anything you want. So you can sort by name if you wish. You can have it ascending, descending. You can have it by salary if you wish. If you click on this, and now you can have it how many values in a table that you want. So let's say you want to take some of these values and put it into a website, so only show certain values at a time so that people can scroll in and see how many values there are. So the next one is the heat map. So if you look here, if in all of these values there are numbers, so you have 11, and then you have 17, and then you have 22. So all of them have numbers on the bottom. All I did is I simply clicked on all of this. So from January all the way to, if I press shift all the way to here, and then so once everything's selected, I go into format, go to conditional format. Let's see what I did. So instead of a single one, I didn't go to the single one, I went to the color one. So now I ask, how do you want this? Which color scheme do you want it? So I chose this one where the anything which is minimum is color blue, anything maximum is color red, and if it's 50% range, then it is yellow. And then these are the other in between. So once you click done, it simply takes the number that you have given. So I have, for example, these are the different weathers across Canadian provinces. So this is the capital of all the different provinces for Canada, and these are the different months from all the way to January to December. And you can see for Toronto, for example, it's really good weather from June all the way to September, and then it starts getting a bit cold after December. But in some of the other provinces, for example, you have Fort Severn Airport, which is, I believe, in Ontario. The average temperature is -16 in January and -10 in March. And when you have the hottest temperature in Toronto, which is 25. Average in July it is 17, which is not bad. So these are, you can clearly see which is the more colder areas or the hotter areas. And the last graph that I want to tell you about is the spark line. So I got these values from above, so you have the exact same values are this, and then I have also plotted all the way January to December, and then these were the values which were in the behind the scenes. So what I have done is at the end of it, I have simply taken all those values and put formula called sparkline. So if you do sparkline, what it does is it makes a graph based on the relative values. And then if you do exact same thing, sparkline, except you put the chart type. So chart type is column. So you guys know what column is now by now. So it makes a column chart. And then if you do chart type column, and then you can have the axis. So you want to see where the axis is. And then you want to have the axis coded. You want to make the axis color red. So that's what it's doing right there. So now you can see that there are values which are going below 0, and then these are values going above 0. So this one exact same thing, except now there is probably at a colder is Fort Sevier Airport, so that's why there are more values below 0 than there are above 0. That's why it is shaped like this. So I'm glad I was able to do all these Google series with you. Now you have an idea of how to make different types of graphs within Google Sheets and how they are set up. And if you require any additional information about this, you can message me below and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. So thank you so much for supporting me and watching all the way through if you have made it. And from the next week onwards, I will try to go back to the different formulas and if possible, try to finish all the arrays before the end of the year, hopefully. I have a really busy schedule and I try to make the best out of what I have. So, thank you so much for watching and kindly share with your friends, family, or anyone else that you think would benefit from these videos. Alright, have a wonderful day. Thank you.